Good afternoon, almost evening, like it's late afternoon. Well, I should change my color so it matches my shirt today. I have so little to do. That's what I'm going to do. We'll do a classic. Now we'll do bubble. Bubble's cute. It's pretty close. Everybody want it to match my hair. It was a big thing for me when I figured out how to mirror this camera. You'd think it would be easy, right? It's not. Nothing's easy anymore. Good afternoon. How is everybody? I hope your day's been better than mine. All I can say is a husband with dementia keeps everything fresh, keeps it all fresh. So this morning, I went to, let me introduce myself. Not everyone knows who I am. I'm Patty Wilson, and this is Patty's Playhouse. And I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, and that's my drama sign behind me, which I love. I dare my business partner to take it again, right? Stuff all over me. So yesterday, I found out, and I posted it here, that Greg Tish, a morning show host on 93.3 FM here in Tallahassee, was going to interview one of the jurors. He actually interviewed one of the software guy jurors, who happened to be sitting next to the foreperson who we all now know as JC. JC is her name. And I set my alarm so I could tune in at 8:30 and watch it. I thought it was interesting. So I'm taking it upon myself to share it with you all. I might have to mute the commercials like as it goes through. I think it's a full half-hour interview, and they do play music because it's a radio, and I get dinged with copyright infringement, so I have to mute that. So bear with me. Hey, Rebecca, can't stay long. Love to Patty and chat. How are you, Rebecca? So anyway, I'm going to play that, and then we'll talk about other stuff too. Hey, Pepper, how are you? How are you doing? Hi, Crime and Coffee crew. So I have a subscriber named Ryan who's been sending me stuff about Jorge Estrada. He only uses Jorge socially. His name's George. But Jorge is, I guess, when he feels more Latin in a party setting. So Ryan was kind enough to send me a blog. Apparently George is the blog. George's blog. He signs it George, not Jorge. He also found his Pinterest. Just entertaining for a straight guy to have a Pinterest about homes and grills, I guess. Also George, not Jorge. I just don't, what do they do? What do they call that? Fronting. They call it fronting. Not a fan of the front. Just be who you are. Don't change your name depending on who the social setting is. Stop fronting. So I'd like to chat with the chat and introduce everybody and say hi. So that's what I'm going to do now before we start this sweet little video. Hey, Debbie, how are you? Thank you for the text messages this morning. My day got away from me. That's all I can say. Quickly. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? Hi, Wild Wild West. Hey, if you're in Tallahassee, I'm going to post my husband's car and get a detail tomorrow. He has a 2020 Acadia. I got to get the car out of the driveway. I got to get it out of the house. He keeps saying he's going to drive again. I got to get rid of it. So let me know if anyone needs a car. Tallahassee. New tires. Hey, Junebug. Hi, Eric. How are you been, Eric? How you been? Hey, Jennifer. Dark Side of the Moon. Hey, Patty. Hey, Dark. Owasso. Finally made a Patty's Playhouse Live. You made them before. But thank you and welcome. Hi, Norma. Little Biddle. I was thinking about you today. I was like, hey, Biddle, Biddle. The full moon out too, Biddle. Thank you for the Greg Tish recommendation. It was good. Well, I'm glad. A lot of people tuned in. I tuned in. I enjoy watching a Facebook Live. I have them weekly. I have one tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Just be Scott and I. We don't have a guest. If you know any interesting business people, I just get like, if I go to ask people to come on, I'm like, they don't want to come on. Why would they want to come on Patty's Playhouse? I always talk myself out of it, you know? Like I have Patty N, you know, Patty N used to work for the Markells. I have her cell phone number, asked Judy for it. I met her in person this past week at the trial, and I was like, oh, I'm going to ask Patty to come on. Now I have to do it because I'm saying it out loud, which is why I'm doing this. I was like, oh, you know, she won't want to come on. I always like talk myself out of it. I did ask one of the male jurors to come on radio, and he is not. He said he is going to keep his thoughts private. And I was like, good for you. But you never know who you ask. That's what I'm trying to remind myself, Patty. You just got to ask sometimes. And if it's no, it's okay. But I really did. Like, he wrote me this really nice note, which I'm not going to read. And I just thought, good for you. I'm like, I'm a big fan of privacy. So it was nice. It was nice that he responded. Hey, Georgia Peach. Nice to see your sweet name again. The painting of the sailboats to the left. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's nicer in person. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sin. How are you? Polly want a cracker. News. Wendy is not going to get arrested anytime soon. Matt Hoffman with WCTV interviewed Jack Campbell today, and it's on X, Twitter, and I'll share that with you. He is not doing anything anytime soon. So Catherine Magbanua and Luis Rivera are going back to their home prisons, and Jack wants his team to get some rest, and nothing is going to happen tomorrow, the next day, or in the next several weeks. So everyone needs to just like stop asking him, I would guess. He's not going to feel pressured by the public, is my point. Let me get Matt Hoffman's thing up, ready to go. Matt's a nice guy, man. He did a great job. I told him to. He did a great job, and I was pretty proud of him for a local guy. So I have that ready to go too. Got George's blog. So funny. George is the blog. Rough day, but you look gorgeous. Well, thank you. My makeup wears well. even if I don't, the makeup wears nicely. Hello from Ontario. Well, you're getting fall. It's cooler here. There's still, if you hear construction, oh, you can see my flabby arms. If you hear construction, they are taking out tree limbs. Jennifer Ray, we're waiting for some Donna Jailhouse calls to get released and posted by some YouTubers. Well, I don't know that they've been released yet, but. Hi, Becky Ireland. How are you doing? Hey, Gloria. Hi, Agent 47. No commercials with him. Hey, Greg Tish. Hope you don't mind. Hope you don't mind. Thank you, because I wanted to watch and listen, but I couldn't. No, I played 2 seconds of music last week, and it was like, you have to remove that, which it'll delete it on its own. I don't have to do anything. Hi, Moonchild. Hi, Ashley. So I do this. We don't do any commercials with him today. Yeah, there were. What I have queued up had a commercial. It had music, Jason Taylor's Interest. So Greg and I have known each other for a long time now. Not as long as his friends know him, but I know him. And he's been our producer, but we have a new producer called, his name is, like I'm British, called Jason Taylor. And there's intro music and outro music. And in that intro music, it was a commercial song. Love how you say Jorge. Well, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't go to, like, that would be like me. When I go to, like, say I had to go to some country club event, which I don't. I'm never invited to those things. My name is Trish. Like, why would you do that? Or you can call me Patricia here, but call me Patty on the radio. It's stupid. So I don't play that game. So George likes to decorate. I figured it wasn't Wendy who decorated the house. Absolutely not. Yeah, I'm not into committing a felony in a courthouse. Just saying. But I did connect the dots with his hair plug scars. Poor man has tons of hair plug scars. Tons. I mean, just rows. The whole way along the back. Like, my hair is bald. Like, it's all the way along the back. It's like connect the dots. Connect four. That's what it's like. Oh, Debbie Gibby, you're so sweet. My dog named Bo. Thank you so much. You're salivating. She is not going to be arrested. I hope you heard me, Gloria. It's not happening. In fact, I'm going to play that first so that you all can get that out of your system because it's not happening. Okay, let me get this.
Right now, I am literally worried about them becoming sick. It's hard to express the amount of emotional and physical energy that it takes to do what they just did. In a legal term, they just ran a marathon. Right now, I am literally worried about them becoming sick. It's hard to express the amount of emotional and physical energy that it takes to do what they just did. In a legal term, they just ran a marathon. Right now.
Do you hear him? Nothing is happening right now. That is Jack Campbell. He is the elected official, the district attorney, and nothing is happening right now. Sorry to bust the bubble. I didn't think it would. Sorry, that's spam. I didn't think it would happen. I should turn that off because they'll get me on that. Do not disturb. Okay. So please hit the like button. Thank you, She-Fly. So we're going to do I'm going to work with True Crime Wifey, and we're putting together a trivia afternoon on Sunday. But you better know your Donna stuff. You got to know your Donna stuff. You like my post on Wendy's divorce lawyer saying she aged like cottage cheese. She's puffy. See, whenever I see that, when someone I see is, let me see if I can find it. Did you see this cow? She votes in the AP poll and puts Florida, University of Florida, the Gators, to 14 when they lost to USF. And then she's on here like bragging about it. She needs to lose her credentials. I get very upset with these things. Like, everything should be fair. Where did I put it? Did I put it here? No, maybe I put it on YouTube. Anyway, I had, what's her face's? Oh, I did put it on YouTube post. I'll share it with you. Kristen Adamson. Her Photoshop, like, headshot from, like, 1985 and now. And I said she aged like cottage cheese. And someone was like, she's beautiful. I'm like, is that your mom? Like, no, she's not. And whenever someone's really puffy like that, I think, oh, you're on the drink. What's she going to do? Sue me? I mean, like on the drink. Someone very close to me had a picture of himself and he realized quickly. I mean, we didn't realize it. And he's like, oh my God. I think, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. He goes, I think, he liked a bottle of wine, right? And then he realized that it was making him puffy. So this is Kristen. When is this? Like I expect like a boudoir photo to be the next strike, right? That's Kristen Adelson, the same chick we saw on the stand. Yeah. I'm 58 years old. I think she's younger than me. Tell me that's the same damn person. Tell me she doesn't like a bottle of wine. All that puff. Look at that. Stop it. Update your photos so people don't think you're catfishing them. Look at that. Lena says, can you turn your head so I can see the back of my head? I love what I see, and I'm thinking about doing my hair like that too. Let me do that for Lena. Okay. So it's just the back of my head. So I was out at a brunch, right? We were at brunch on Sunday with some of the ladies from the trial gallery, from the gallery of the trial. And one lady's husband's like, was leaving, he had to touch my head. Yeah, she's definitely on the drink, dear. Hi, Marcus. My wife and I think you're really funny. Thanks. Thank you. That's nice. It's like my best compliment. Let me see. I don't think Charlie is out yet. Hold on. Let me check. No, he's still there. He's still in Leon County Detention. Oh, our radio show is great, even if you don't live here. Well, we try to pass on some real estate tidbits. Hi, LR. Listening work. Your hair is looking fabulous today. Well, I try to make it look fabulous every day. Doesn't always work. You don't blame the jurors. I don't blame the jurors either. I don't blame them. I was like, good for you. Because what I was saying earlier, a few minutes ago, that I had invited a juror to come on a radio show, our radio show. And he left me the most beautiful note. I mean, just so sweet. And I was like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. The franchise owner of HTO. I think, Shauna, didn't they close? But I'm happy to speak with them if you want to have a message me. I thought they closed. But I am looking for business owners to interview. Everyone would love to be in the playground. I think she would love to come on too. But you know that self-talk where you're like, I'll invite them. And I get all excited. And then I like freeze. Why would they want to come on? It's the best. Did you say last week Georgia asked for transcripts from a previous trial? No. I didn't say that. I said someone asked. Someone on one of the two sides posted Wendy's transcript from this trial ahead of, it was like a rush job. Aromatic thinks the juror foreperson needs to stop her shit. I always get nervous when jurors speak. I want the Florida Adelsons to be in prison. Being a caregiver for dementia is challenging. Nothing I ever signed up for. Thank you for responding about the state of Wendy. No matter what, must be awful to live like she has to live. Oh, yeah, I enjoy that she's on the hunt. I enjoy that George Estrada removed his LinkedIn. I enjoy it. Okay, where can we see this Greg Tish show? I thought this was a discussion of that show. Hi, Stancy. We're going to see it in a minute. You gotta like lead up to things, Stancy. So Wendy won't be arrested? No offense, Jimmy, but do people listen? Are you mowing the lawn? She's not going to get arrested this week or next week or likely the next week. Jack Campbell wants his team which I shared, to have a break. I guess you can all understand that, right? Thanks, Salt and Batter. What a cute name. Well, at least she won't have a peaceful night's sleep ever. And why would he telegraph it to all of us? I've never understood that. Analytically, that makes zero sense that he's going to be like, I'm going to go arrest Wendy on September 28th. Like, why would you do that? No time soon, Rebecca. How long before George buys a wig and changes his name? Patty, we need a new court case. Well, I'm going to do the Phoenix Eichner case, which is the subhuman that shot up FSU. That is coming up. He has a new defense attorney. So I'm going to start going down to the courthouse for that. Orly says I'm the only one she listens to. Thank you, Orly. Good afternoon to everyone except Wendy. That's so funny. Hey, Jab. So you guys, the only music is at the start of the interview at the end. Okay, thanks, Greg. All right, ready? Now, I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to post the link to it like I did before. Let me introduce everybody to who's on the screen. Let me get rid of this. I won't be posting comments while that's on, right? So let me get rid of this. So in your upper right-hand corner is the juror. The upper left-hand corner is Gregory Tish, and his favorite team is the San Diego Padres. We don't really have a reason for it. We just know it is. Down below is Dana Brooks. She's a high-profile attorney here in town. And in the lower right is Jason Taylor. And he's Greg's co-host and the producer of our show. And then you see my comments. So you guys ready? Do you hear that noise? I don't know what the hell is going on out there. Okay.
Evan, who's juror number 6. Number 6 in the Donna Adelson trial.
I tried to place you because I watched 2 days of it.
Okay. Oh, you were in the courtroom.
Yeah,
That's right. You were in the courtroom. Patty's
Patty's
actually, and Patty, because Patty was there. Patty shared our stream to her YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
I think some other YouTube channels have also shared our stream. Everybody wants to talk to y'all, man.
Yeah. It's been a really crazy experience.
So Dana, her big question she asked you during the break is, how the hell did you not hear about this?
Yeah, well, I was 14 whenever, whenever it
That's a
happened.
good reason.
So I wasn't paying attention to local news at all at 14. And then whenever I got a little bit older, I moved away and I was living in Gainesville for like 3-4 years and moved back at the end of 2023. So I was completely unaware of it. I mean, when I walked into the courtroom for jury selection, I couldn't figure out which one of them was the defense attorney. So that was
Had you heard of any of those people before?
No, I hadn't.
Yeah. What did you think about the whole process? What did you think? I'm talking about from
From the
jury
jury
selection.
selection.
Yeah. What did you think about that?
This was a different experience for me because I'm 24, but I've been called for jury duty 5 times.
Wow.
So
Oh, get used to it. You'll do it the rest of your life. You're a lifer.
they keep pulling me in, and all of my experiences before this one had been I show up, I sit around for 2 hours at most, and then they usually kick me out, and I usually get out of it. But I got in there and they sat us down, and instead of asking like group questions, they were just had us waiting, and individually one by one pulled us each in to speak to the judge and the defense.
And you're going, this is
prosecution.
different from the other times.
Right. I'm like, this is weird. And then when we first got in there as well, the clerk, whoever was speaking to us in the holding room where there was like 150 of us, was like, yes, this is about the Adelson case. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot different than all the other experiences I've had.
And that was every member of the jury that nobody had heard of this case prior?
But that was everyone that was summoned. They pulled everyone in one by one to ask them probably if they'd heard of it. And then I guess they probably took down notes of all the people who said they had heard nothing to pull them in second day. Because I think they did 3 days of jury selection. I got pulled in for Tuesday and then the third day on Thursday.
And then you knew you were in.
Yeah. The first day that or the second day that I came in, I walked in to the courtroom for them to sit us down in the galley to start what I assumed was the process where they were going to ask us questions again, one by one. But they sat me in the jury box. I think I was number 14 that day. And I was like, oh, fuck.
But when did you realize that this was going to be a big trial? When did you know that? I mean, was it
whenever they it was different. And they had us asking questions individually instead of as a group. That first day I was there, I was like, this is got to
Did
be
you
for
ever
something.
answer any as a group, or were they all individual?
The final day it was they asked us questions as a group broadly, and then they would like hone in individually if you answered in a way that they wanted to elaborate on.
what was it like on your job?
Well, it was pretty easy for me. I mean, I'm a student for most of the time, so they have to excuse that for me. My work, I called my boss and was like, hey, I'm gonna be gone for probably like 2 weeks until probably the 5th, but they were really accommodating.
So take us through, going through the day, from day one, realizing that what this was and you not knowing anything, and then going through with the prosecution, going through step one all the way up to what y'all were there for. What was your impressions of the prosecution when they start off with their opening statements? And
the prosecution felt really put together was the biggest thing. I felt like the defense was kind of on the back foot the whole time, and the prosecution really had their stuff together and was really there. They really showed up. But yeah, it was exhausting though. I mean, it was a lot.
I have a question because I've tried cases, and I've always been lucky that the jurors would come back and talk to me, and this is invaluable. If you are so inclined to talk to those lawyers, I'm sure they would be glad to hear from you because you always learn so much. But people are often surprised. They tell me they're surprised at how boring it is. Now, this one, for me, got a little bit boring because I showed up on the day where they were listening to all the tapes. That was horrible, wasn't it? The 2 days of just tapes.
Just the tapes with
that's hard to carry your people. But what did you think about it? Did you ever get to the point where you were really kind of bored, even though this was a heavy gravity? But were you ever bored, actually?
Surprisingly not. No, even during, I'm nosy, so even during the tapes when they were running through each of those phone calls for like 5 hours, even for most of that, I was pretty enthralled in it for the most part.
That's good.
But I feel like that may just be a me thing.
What do you think? What was the most interesting of the testimony? Did you like the techier stuff, or did you like the more facty stuff where you're like, wait, she said that and then she said that? What did you find interesting?
I loved hearing Chris Corbett talk about him doing the cell phone tracking, and all of the investigation work behind that was brilliant. I mean, pulling the Star Metro cameras was really cool to see and hear them talk about that. So I was on the edge of my seat, leaned forward, paying attention to them.
I was too, because I leurned so much. Because
there's
so much of that stuff, we're all living in this world that we really don't understand how those things work. And when somebody gives you that detail, most of the time you're overwhelmed. It's just too dense. But they really laid that out in a way you could follow it. It was a storytelling format.
And then I think even going back to that, because if the murderers the murderer and the driver had rented any other vehicle, you may not have been in that jury.
There's so many.
that have that Prius that had a different colored mirror, and for them to get bus footage and camera footage, did it keep sinking in with you, like as they're going through the case more and more? This is a big deal. Yeah,
the biggest thing for me that really was kind of like a shock whenever I was like, oh wow, this is kind of crazy, was the first day when they were giving us the parking instructions, because usually they would just have you park in like the juror parking and shuttle over. But for this, they had sectioned off an entire part of the parking garage, and they had law enforcement waiting for us up there every single morning when we arrived to escort us over to the building. And I was like, yeah, this is different. Yeah, you couldn't leave when you were in the gallery until they had secured all of the jurors and they had driven away, and then they'd let everybody else leave. So,
with the defense, you said that they would seem like kind of on the back foot a lot. How did they come across to you? Yeah, I can't speak to them individually. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not the ones on trials. Right. It's irrelevant to Miss Adelson, but I don't know. I felt like they were kind of scrambly a lot of the time during cross-examination, or because
jumping all over the place, kind of covering this and then switching to a topic or something.
Right.
It's a lot harder because, when you're prosecuting the case and you're building something up, you can kind of build it the way you want. And then when you're trying to tear it down, you might knock the top off and then do a punch here and then a punch here, and just, you can't really attack something with the same elegance that you can present something.
One of the things that with us watching the trial, one of the things that was very frustrating is like, all right, we're going to, sidebar, and then y'all, jury, please be escorted
how'd
out.
you
Y'all
feel
got
about that?
in and out. I mean, did that get tiresome after a while? Like, damn, we just sat down 5 minutes ago.
It's like 65 degrees in that courtroom. So around was very welcome. I do. Because I didn't get to see any of those conversations or any of the interactions outside of that when I was in the jury room. So I think it'd be interesting to see that. But I didn't have an issue with it. I mean, I trust that. I trust Judge Everett's take on everything. I trust him to run a.
Speaking of him, how were the snacks? I keep hearing a lot about the Costco snacks.
Judge Everett treated us like princesses.
Oh, he's such a
He
doll.
did, and that was one of the things that, I mean, with having that experience, going through the 12 days in the courtroom, you thought that he did obviously did a great job. Not only with the snacks,
Well, yeah.
but kept y'all very informed, kept you.
You've always felt like he had you, right? He had your
Oh,
back,
absolutely.
like he was looking out for you. Did you always feel that way?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
That in between him and our two bailiffs, at no point did I feel.
You felt like he wasn't going to let anybody waste your time or
Absolutely.
mislead you or play any games with you. Did you feel taken care of?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Judge Everett's great. I think he did a fantastic job.
Any of the witnesses other than Corbett really compelling to you? Or did you see any of them that you just say, I don't believe a word you're saying. I don't know why you're here, but you're not.
Well,
you're not
I mean, how
performing."
was that before each would come up? I mean, just having what you had just heard to wipe your mind clear.
And then
Yeah.
focus on
the
you.
next one
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
How was that?
Sometimes
difficult?
they would like trail together. I think they did a good job of like giving us a break period between bringing in a new witness. Anyone that is incarcerated essentially has something to gain from a certain sway in this trial needs to be taken with a grain of salt. There.
Well,
So,
you got an instruction on that too, didn't you? Liberated. Was that a point of reference off service? Because they're like, I'm not going to remember that, but you get them in print too.
absolutely, yeah.
So how did those guide you? And
During
inform you?
deliberation, we heavily relied on the jury instructions to read through and make sure that she was getting a fair trial.
Mhm.
I mean, because I feel at the end of that, of seeing all of the evidence laid out, it's pretty damning evidence. But when we get back here, it is all of our duty to make sure she gets a fair trial and that we're reading and
Yeah,
following
because
the jury instructions.
you all appreciated the gravity of the decision you were making.
Absolutely.
Was there any aha moment for y'all to where that you can remember?
For most of the trial, I stayed pretty because she
Right.
deserves me to not make my mind up before the end of the trial. She's a citizen. She deserves a fair trial like anyone else does. But no, I feel like the biggest thing for me going back there was after the closing statement for the prosecution. By that point, I had kind of realized where I was sitting on there and where I was leaning.
So we go back, and how did you feel with the closing arguments? I mean, because I think the defense they came in, and I liked what the defense said, and I think that for their closing argument,
Well, it's pretty weak against her for things that happened before the murder.
Right.
Whereas, and everything they charged her with were things that had to have happened before the act. The premeditation, the intent, the plan, the conspiracy, the solicitation, all that stuff.
I thought that was
actually
done
happened.
just for the jury to go, but to do the rehash.
Well, no, she's
Okay.
charged with certain
Right,
things,
right,
and
right.
there's certain criteria for each one of those charges that they have to make sure were proven.
Right.
And then she wasn't charged, as you recall, accessory after the fact, which I would assume, I don't know this, but I wouldn't do it because you give a jury,
Mm.
okay, make them work to give you your thing. They may take a while, it may be a bigger, but you're going to get the big prize. You give them something easy, they'll just, oh, well, we all agreed that they were all guilty as hell afterwards. And they were clambering around. I mean, we'll give them that. And so you wouldn't get a bigger charge, So that's probably why, but that made it harder to prove because you're relying mostly on evidence of guilt way after the fact to prove it and all those things that have to occur.
Well, let's go back. Y'all escorted back. The trial is over, and you go back. decide on who's going to be the foreperson. And I know that she's already started making videos over the weekend. I know that a couple of the jurors are like, well, why don't you do it?
Yeah, I had a couple of other people in there that were like, I'm a pretty A personality, like pretty direct. So I have a couple of them that were like, Evan, you could do it. And I was like, well, is there anyone that really wants to do it? And JC, she was like, I really want to. And she's great. And I'm like, yeah, she's going to do a great job either way. She's a similar temperament. So I had no need to really be the foreperson. So if she wanted to do it, by all means.
That's not terribly uncommon. A lot of times you think you know who the foreperson is going to be because you're seeing certain criteria. Maybe they're more stoic, or maybe
Right, and then when they come up after,
then you come up. I when I was on a jury, you would think I would end up being the foreperson, right? Knowing me plus the background, I wasn't. Give it to somebody. I mean, it's almost like the more suited you are for that position, the more you want to be hands off and not there. There's something very interesting about a jury dynamic, wouldn't you say? Isn't that a very interesting group dynamic? How's that unlike like any other group that you've been in, the way y'all work, the orderliness of it?
It's kind of strange because we're not like, of course, you're not able to talk about the case or anything. So we're you're kind of just getting to know these people with small talk and everything. For, like,
did you kind of bond? Did some of y'all get closer and hang out more at lunch and stuff? Like by day 2, don't you kind of have your little dyads and stuff?
Well, I think for me, at any point during lunch, I wasn't really hanging around anyone because I was just itching to be walking outside. Not
be freezing.
You're just thawing out by the time you get back in.
Like the last day, we didn't get to go outside for any period, like deliberation. At that point, time outside. But no, I did. I really started to enjoy everyone in there. Probably one of the people I was closest with and I talked to the most. Funny enough.
Well, you'll be seeing each other soon on all your Dateline appearances.
Yeah.
2020. You'll have a tour.
Well, let's go back to, when you started deliberations, and then take us through that process of how that went. You go back, and then everybody's back in the juror room. Defense is hoping they don't hear from y'all for a day or two. The prosecution, they're wanting, they don't even want to leave the courtroom before they get back. I had done an over/under on Facebook, which the defense didn't like, on how long to be back there. I think Jason's 4 hours, 3 hours, return. Take
3
us,
or under, and
take us through that the first going back there, find out, get the person, you go through the votes. What was that? Take us through that process.
Yeah, I think with the way that the defense is closed was, I felt like a lot of information was thrown out to confuse it, which apparently is a tactic for defense closing statements. So when we went back there, it was like a lot of information that we felt like we wanted to go through, and we had like all of the evidence lying back there, and I knew there was a handful of my fellow jurors that were really interested in digging back through all of the evidence. By that point, when we went back there, I was pretty comfortable. I had seen everything I needed. There was only a few things that I really wanted to talk about. But some other of the jurors were a lot more conflicted than I was, which is completely fine. I mean, I get there's a lot of gravity to the situation. So,
were there particular things that you would share with us that you guys maybe remembered differently, or did want to go back and reconsult, or maybe digest a little bit more, revisit some of the evidence, or things that you were conflicted about that you want to share with us?
Yeah, that's one of I'm not a super heavy note taker. I think I took like 4 pages of notes for the entire trial, but there's some of them that took notes on everything. So some of those did become helpful at the end of it, because there were some like very specific things about witness testimony that came back that those notes were helpful with. I think one of them specifically being is we were discussing whether or not Luis Rivera, when he was on the stand, whether or not he said that his money that he received was damp or not.
I don't recall that either, because the dampness came in after him. He was kind of early.
Right.
What'd you think about him? I found him. I mean, we know what his history is, but I found him to be pretty compelling.
I found him very
him.
compelling. Absolutely. I think he from the get-go was ready to comply. And to be honest,
he knows the game.
Right. I think that like someone like Mr. Banawa, that's someone whose testimony I don't hold with.
That's a moving target.
Because all of a sudden she wanted to talk.
Right. And then she's continued to lie on the stand. I think this is what, her 5th time up on the stand, 4 times. And
if you go back and see her prior testimonies on that, you'll probably be glad you assessed it the way you did.
Well, what about with Donna's jail, with the detention facility, the 2 women that came up to talk about that? How credibility?
I didn't hold them in any regard either. I felt like that's the least valuable of the evidence to me, at least, especially with Miss Bird. Whenever you have something to gain from this trial going a certain way, I shouldn't be
That's right.
testimony.
Very wise. Very wise.
But I do think that, what was her name, Miss Bernhardt, with the book with Miss handwriting, they showed us that whole hour-long video in its entirety of us watching them interact while writing in it. I know the defense was pushing to say that Miss Adelson was kind of forced to push us, socially pressured to write in it. But I think that they write it, the expert came back showing that was her handwriting in the book. So I feel like of all of the
Felt like grasping at straws kind of at that point.
Yeah, I felt like that was the most compelling of the evidence that came from the jailhouse snitches, I guess. But no, I didn't hold a lot of weight in Miss Bird or Miss McDaniel.
What do you think about the family law attorneys, divorce attorneys?
Thank you,
Because I think this was a mistake to put them back to back, because they don't look, they're not the same age and kind of the same colorings and stuff like that. And they were saying the same thing. And so it's almost like you lost that one was a fact witness and one was an expert witness. It seemed like a real long testimony of two middle-aged blonde women saying the same thing. Well, how did you receive that?
That one was long. That was honestly probably my least favorite testimony here was Miss Bailey's.
What did you think the value of it was?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely see the value. She's an expert in law, and her take on going through and talking about the divorce, whether it's necessarily a contentious divorce, is important, and I get why the defense would bring that up.
You do, so you weren't insulted by someone suggesting that was not a contentious divorce, because a lot of people have commented on it, like, what do you mean this is not contentious? Maybe not for you, because you've had 3 people murdered and 2 killed themselves in your career, and not everybody's like that.
I think we're all kind of created by our circumstances and what we've experienced. So in her experience, that may
maybe true. Didn't have any value.
Yeah. So for her, it really isn't. I think Miss Cattleman's, this is their only divorce to them.
That attorney is a sponsor of the show, so that's why she's talking, because she pays to. And this is a radio show talk, like a radio talk show, and she's a friend of mine. So I just want you all to know that as you're disparaging her. It's hard for me to read the comments. She's going to talk the whole way through it, so you can enjoy that or not. But I do have the Spotify version of it, which is, they posted on Spotify. So I'm going to play it on Spotify, because this is really unfortunate, because you can barely hear them. But I'm going to put it over here on the Spotify. And get rid of this one. But she is a friend of mine, and she pays to talk. So that's that. Okay. So this is coming from Spotify, so you can see it. And it's going to start at the beginning. And that's what I have to end up.
He shared our stream to her YouTube channel. I think some other YouTube channels have also shared our stream. Everybody wants to talk to y'all, man.
Yeah. It's been a really crazy experience.
So, Dana, her big question she asked you during the break is, how the hell did you not hear about this?
Yeah, well, I was 14. That's
a good reason.
So I wasn't paying attention to local news at all at 14. And then whenever I got a little bit older, I moved away, and then I was living in Gainesville for like 3-4 years, and moved back at the end of 2023. So I was completely unaware of it. And when I walked into the courtroom for jury selection, I couldn't figure out which one of them was the defense attorney. So that was it.
Had you heard any of those people before?
No, I hadn't.
What did you think about the whole process? What did you think? I'm talking about from the jury selection. Yeah. What did you think about that?
This was a different experience for me, because I'm 24, but I've been called for jury duty 5 times.
I'll get used to it. You'll do it the rest of your life.
Well, then I can't play it, because if there's an echo, there's nothing I can do about it. It's playing through the computer. So all I can do is try to turn it down and see if that helps.
You're a lifer.
They keep pulling me in, and all of my experiences before this one had been I show up, I sit around for 2 hours at most, and then they usually kick me out. And I usually get out of it. But I got in there and they sat us down, and instead of asking like group questions, they were just had us waiting and individually one by one pulled us each in to speak to the judge and the
And you're
defense.
going, this is different from the other time.
Right.
Right.
This is weird. And then when we first got in there as well, the clerk who was speaking to us in the holding room where there was like 150 of us was like, yes, this is about the Adelson case. I'm like, what that is. It was a lot different than all the other experiences I've had.
And that was every member of the jury that nobody had heard of this case.
Okay, well then-
that was everyone that was summoned. They pulled everyone in.
I'll just post the link and we won't be able to play it because there's no way for me to fix it. There's no way for me to fix it. I apologize. My mic is off. I just proved that by talking. The mic was off. Anyway, I'm just going to share it with you that way. Or turn the comments off so I don't have to read you for right now. I did mute myself, Vegas. Fix it. Who? What? I'm just going to hide that because that's pissing me off. People are rude. Pero, I wonder how Charlie took the news that his mom was convicted. There was a news article on Hub Pages I saved yesterday about that, or the day before. Can we just go back to the original? Yeah, I can try, but it was bad. Let me go back.
Whenever we return
from town hall, I'm at.
I just don't understand why people have to be so rude in the chat. I really don't. I don't like it. It's not fun. Like, I understand you guys want what you want, but for real, it's not a way to carry yourselves. I ain't gonna lie. Fix it.
.org. Do you know of a Tallahassee legacy that should be shared? Text the word legacy.
whenever me at least, especially with Miss Bird, whenever you have something to gain from this trial going.
If you don't want to hear her ask a question, then you have to leave. There's no way for me to edit this out. It was at 9 o'clock this morning. Golly. It's not even about that. You either want to listen to the interview or you don't. It's pretty simple. Thank you. I mean, I just don't. It just seems very odd to me.
Is we were discussing whether or not Luis Rivera, when he was on the stand, whether or not he said that his money that he received was damp or not.
You know, I don't recall that either because the dampness came in after him. He was kind of early.
Right.
What do you think about him? I found him. I mean, we know what his history is, but I found him to be pretty compelling.
I found him very
believe him.
compelling. Absolutely. I think he from the get-go was ready to comply.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
He knows the game.
right. I think that like someone like Mr. Banawa, that's someone whose testimony I don't hold with.
Yeah, that's a moving target.
Because all of a sudden she wanted to talk.
Right. And then she's continued to lie on the stand. I think this is what her 5th time up on the stand, 4 times. And
yeah, if you go back and see her prior testimonies on that, you'll probably be glad you assessed it the way that you did.
Well, what about with Donna's jail, with the detention facility, the 2 women that came up to talk about that? How credibility?
I didn't hold them in any regard either. I felt like that's the least valuable of the evidence to me, at least, especially with Miss Bird. Whenever you have something to gain from this trial going a certain way, I shouldn't.
That's right.
Testimony.
Very wise. Very wise.
But I do think that what was her name, Miss Bernhardt, with the book with Miss handwriting. They showed us that whole hour-long video in its entirety of us watching them interact while writing in it. I know the defense was pushing to say that Miss Adelson was kind of forced to push us, socially pressured to write in it. But at the end of the day, the expert came back showing that was her handwriting in the book. So I feel like of all of the
Felt like grasping at straws kind of at that point.
yeah, I felt like that was the most compelling of the evidence that came from the jailhouse snitches, I guess. But no, I didn't hold a lot of weight in Miss Bird or Miss McDaniel.
What do you think about the family law attorneys, divorce attorneys?
Thank you, Adelson,
Because I think this was a mistake to put them back to back because they don't look. They're about the same age and kind of the same colorings and stuff like that. And they were saying the same thing. And so it's almost like you lost that one was a fact witness and one was an expert witness. It seemed like a real long testimony of two middle-aged blonde women saying the same thing. Well, how did you receive that?
That one was long. That was honestly probably my least favorite testimony here was Miss Bailey's.
What did you think the value of it was?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely see the value. She's an expert in law, and her take on going through and talking about the divorce, whether it's necessarily a contentious divorce, is important, and I get why the defense would bring that up.
You do, so you weren't insulted by someone suggesting that was not a contentious divorce. Because a lot of people have commented on it, like, "What do you mean this is not contentious?"
Right.
Maybe not for you because you've had 3 people murdered and 2 kill themselves in your career, and not everybody's like that.
I think we're all kind of created by our circumstances and what we've experienced. So in her experience, that may have
maybe true. How many value?
Yeah. So for her, it really isn't a contentious divorce, but I felt Miss Cappleman's this is their only divorce to them. This was a very contentious divorce. Was a very valid, and I felt I was discussing that analogy about the stinky garbage that Miss Bailey and Miss Bailey still was a connection there, or at least acknowledged that there was a connection there. I was.
Yes, she did.
You're just like, come on.
The things you should give up.
Right here. Yeah.
So some things you just have to yield.
So back there, so you go through in the jury room, you go through everything, you do a vote right off the bat.
No, we went kind of point by point. We started with each count that she was being charged with, and kind of broke it down on what we could agree on. We found some common ground there before, but no, it wasn't like we get reading into jury instruction specifically, and that was part of the hang up for some of the jurors was that there is so little evidence before affecting them more than it was for me, because there's of course less evidence before the murder because there's no investigation before the murder. Right. But yeah, I think that the way that we went about our deliberation was really nice. There was one other.
The people who did need a little more convincing or want to discuss a little bit more were there particular issues that they were hung up on or not as convinced as you on?
Part of it is that within the jury instructions, part of it is to prove intent. And with there being less that it's hard to dig in and find intent based off just those 2 years that we had prior of emails. And so for some of the jurors, that was their hang up more, that they couldn't find as much intent before the murder as they wish they would be able to find.
Well, that's really the weakness in the case. That's really all that the defense had to hound on. That,
when it came time, so you went through, discussed everything point by point, and then when did the first vote? How many votes were there within the jury room?
I think we voted about 5 times. We started by going through first count, like I said, and breaking it down point by point. But between each one, we would go we went through the first count, and we all agree on count 1, and then we would go through and we would see who's comfortable, how people are feeling, and anyone that had any doubt or uncertainty about count 1, we would go back through and we would reevaluate evidence and speak on it until we were all on the same.
Interesting. And with those votings, because I've never been in a jury, and all I know is 12 Angry Men, which I made the reference to. Was there passing around a secret ballot, or is it hands?
We did most of it was hands. We would raise our hands at the JC. Actually had a great idea at the end to try to eliminate because it's not the entirety of each one of our verdicts, and it needs to make sure that it's absolutely everyone's verdict that they fully believe. So she ripped up about 12 pieces of paper and wrote them down, and had everyone put them into a bowl at the end to make sure that everyone was able to put their honest thoughts without being called out for it or feeling like they would be called out for it. But there was no one in there that was super aggressive or anything.
So go ahead, Dan.
Cordial.
Did the deliberations lean a certain way in terms of your ages or your genders? Like, were some of you more sympathetic? Were some of you needing more proof? I'm just looking for any kind of trending. Does that fall down any sort of lines?
No, surprisingly not. I felt it was a good mix. Like, one of the people that were hung up was younger. One of them was an older guy. One of the another woman in there. So there wasn't really any correlation or like any line to be able to like discern, well, this specific age group or this type of person feels a certain way, while the others feel the opposite.
Did you feel like your group was more homogenous, or did you feel like you had a good amount of diversity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that she absolutely got a fair trial when it comes to diversity. I think that it was a very diverse group.
What about backgrounds and experiences, economic sort of thing?
Yeah,
Pretty diverse.
Yeah, there were a couple business owners in there. Some people landscaping, me, a student. I feel like it was kind of all over the place.
And none of y'all knew about this case, even the older people.
The most that anyone in there had heard about it was that we proved that it happened and then didn't follow along, and that was what it was for my case.
They had a bunch of non-Danas and non-Jason.
Right, yeah.
You're non-Terrys.
Non-Terrys. Because I haven't kept up with it at all until this last time. I've had some podcast people on from time to time.
It seems like this last one, for whatever reason, really got everybody's interest. Again, nobody cared about it from Miami, but the one with Charlie Adelson, it just didn't garner as much attention as this. I guess because it's a woman and it's a grandma.
I think that's part of the way that it's been reported on too. Like I saw at the end of the trial when I finally was able to go home and look at some of the reportings on it. The matriarch mastermind title being thrown around does garner some attention, I think, more so than murderers from Miami.
Clickbait, right?
Now, and then also when the trial was over, getting to look at like all the podcasts, all the Netflix specials, the datelines, everything that was done on this trial, and you're just like, how did I miss this?
It was shocking to go back and see that.
Do you feel like this matriarch mastermind type of thing, or do you think this woman just got caught up in some stuff her kids and had to do what mamas do? What did you think that this was all her doing and her orchestration, or she a mama who's just a little too involved and got caught up?
Charlie Adelson is interested in this, and I don't think would have had an interest to hire murderers outside of some other form of pressure. So I do think it was
more so than maybe even Wendy, who got into this, and then she's got a kind of a feckless, alpha brother who got into it. A mom trying to take care of everybody.
Would you be surprised if Wendy was arrested?
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
I think that Wendy.
Enough evidence for her? Now, don't misunderstand me. That it'll be different evidence or presented differently, but based on what you heard with an eye towards convicting Donna, what do you hear about convicting Wendy?
I think I need to preface it making sure that I say, well, Wendy wasn't on trial, so a lot of the time I didn't even consider whether or not Charlie or Wendy were guilty or whether they had anything to do with it. I do think they're.
I like that.
I tried to disregard them as much as possible because it's on trial right now.
That's not the assignment.
What did you? I know we're about to go off the air on the radio, but we'll continue for the couple. We have a couple more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll continue on the Greg Tish Show Facebook Live for a couple more minutes. I know the radio time comes up, but you come back into the courtroom, hand over to Judge Everett. What you have found. What did you think of Donna's reaction?
It was, I felt like whenever we returned the verdict, I would feel some sort of like satisfaction or like feeling of like that justice had been served. At the end of it, all I felt was just sad.
Yeah, I see that.
I
can see that.
And the Markle family absolutely deserves the justice. I'm glad that they finally get it so many.
How did with them getting up to speak?
You didn't hear that.
Oh.
You didn't hear the impact statement.
Have you gone back and watched
You can watch
impact statements?
I have seen them. I had them come up on YouTube yesterday, but I hadn't watched them as of yet. Because I imagine they probably get pretty emotional in it. And I'd seen a friend of mine had seen them and he described them to me, and I'm glad that Judge Everett had given them to get up there and speak.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
deserve
So
to
they've
do
been
that and voice their mind.
And I know that what you went in for and what you left with two different expectations and
Right.
two different things. And then this is a trial that was, court TV. I mean, this was covered and watched.
Are you getting hounded? Are you getting
nationwide.
hounded by a bunch of people reaching out to you?
Well, now
for
it will.
comment? Now that you've been on Tish.
After the Greg Tish show.
Keep
Yeah.
Morrison's on hold.
No.
once you get to Tish, you can write your ticket.
Not so much. During when we would break for lunch, I would go and there'd be people. I'd be getting like eyeballed whenever I'd go out. Go across the street.
What's up, Johnny Mac?
And I would just be like, people staring at me. And I'm like, oh man, this is kind of.
Did you have your little juror badge on?
No, they beat them off
They
every
did,
time
yeah.
we left.
Yeah.
To make sure we weren't being bothered by
Right.
media.
Right.
No, that's well, thank you, for going to jury duty all the times
Yeah.
and taking out your civic duty and then getting chosen for this one and stuff. Like I said, that in 10 years, you will probably get calls from folks. I mean, I start to get calls from literally Dayline and everybody to come and experience on the jury.
Any interest in law?
That's actually my degree.
Very nice.
Pre-law.
There you go.
Fantastic.
I have to own a law firm.
I was originally going for engineering prior, and after getting summoned for this, seeing.
Oh no, the world's not all rich, and here's the need. What it
no,
needs is some
absolutely.
more lawyers.
How serendipitous it is that y'all met.
Well, I can't think enough time out of your day to.
That's it. That is it. Will's high as a kite. I'm just going to leave that up for the rest of the night, if that's okay with you. Will's taking over for Trent, so I'm just going to leave that there. I'll just post I shared the Spotify. I'm going to share it again. The Spotify is directly from the radio feed. It didn't go through Facebook Live, which was jacked up. But so you'll be able to hear the whole, and you can complain to yourself about the other people talking, which then I don't have to watch it. I hid that dude that was high. I was like, come on, Tennis. Don't hide him. That's the funniest thing that's happened to me all day. Come on. Golly. So what he said was he didn't pay Catherine Magbanua's testimony. He didn't really consider if Wendy was guilty because she wasn't on trial. I mean, he sounded like a fair guy. He didn't consider Drina, which, the snitches, Patricia Bird or Drina Bernhardt, didn't consider them. He really didn't like the two female attorneys, which who did. So that was interesting, as much as I could hear of it, which was limited because of the feed, but you're going to listen again tonight. Yeah, I grab that Spotify link. How is my husband doing today? When Will said I'm high as a kite, that was the happiness out of my day, okay? So I'm it's a lot. It's a lot taking care of a 67-year-old man with dementia. I really wish he was allowed to finish. I understand, Yvonne. It is a radio talk show. There's 4 people, technically 3. Jason sometimes talks. But you won't like my radio talk show then either. It's no different. It's not a documentary. It's a radio talk show. Oh, it's been a hard day. So hi everybody, welcome. Anyway, that was that. What else was I going to show? Oh, George's the blog. I was going to show you George's blog. It's boring. It's nothing exciting. What was the Olympic gymnast's name that attended the trial? Carrie Zimmerman. Carrie Zimmerman. Bring on Will. I know. What is Tennis Girl hiding him for? He's the fun one. High as a kite. Well, thank you, Wesley. You're always full of the compliments. Dude, I could just pinch your cheeks. Do you have any info on Tova or Jane? Tova lives in what, like Iowa or somewhere? Where does Tova live? Thank you, Mr. C. Prayers to you. Mr. C just lost his father last week. So prayers to him. He's unhidden. Please forgive me. Oh, I'm so glad I do this show sober. Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm breaking up every word. I shouldn't be. I don't know why. That's funny. Tennis is in a good mood too. She's a good mod. She was my first. She was my first mod. I hear you fine. I know. I think other people, like, it's their listening device or they're trying to listen in two places maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. Thank you, Maribel. How are you? Good. So here's the blog. This comes from Ryan. He's our show subscriber. So I'm a libertarian, right? I just want y'all to know. I'm on the oh, you can see my arm swing. I'm on the conservative side of libertarian. George is not. George is really liberal, okay? So if you are, you know, towards the conservative side, I don't want you to be offended. I'm a libertarian. I believe everyone should have their opinion, right? So this is, let me go to the top. Here's George's blog where he calls himself George. If you're just tuning in, I'm Patty Wilson. We attempted to play an interview with juror number 6. His first name is Evan. Young guy. He's like 26 years old, I figured out. He was in software technology, and he enjoyed, his favorite was Chris Corbett, which was the phones to celebrate, which I want to ask him if he would, what he gave, obviously not much, to that female telephone person, Kelsey Guay, who had literally nothing to offer with her 100 hours of training. 100 hours of training. I was like, Chris Corbett does that in a week. 100 hours of training. Anyway, here's George's blog, found by Ryan, show subscriber. So he's like technology executive that enjoys literature. Oh, let me get this bigger because I don't like blogs with the gray font. You can't see it. I don't understand. Technology executive that enjoys, I'm a font like snob, films, music, and food. This is his corner of the world, and we are invading it. We've just invaded George Estrada. Neil Gaiman and the life stories. I have no idea who Neil Gaiman is. I really don't know. I don't know. He talks about the Long Now Foundation, how stories last. If anyone knows who Neil Gaiman is, why he's talking about reproduction, I don't know. I ain't got nothing. But this is his blog. They use metaphor and simile to make connections. Similes like as beautiful as. Metaphors like. No. Metaphors aren't alike. Simile is alike, George. Sorry. That's posted on 2024. That's when he was still bagging Wendy. I'm sorry, that's my front door ring. Stories are, now it's the power of stories. In Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari notes the crucial role imagination plays. Wait a minute, let's go back up to here. Gaiman also reminds us stories are lies. George, Wendy is lying to you. She is lying to you. Once upon a time, Wendy Adelson pretended like she didn't have her husband killed. Okay? She's about to lie to you every time she opens up her mouth. Like this. So she can shallowly breathe, Dr. G says. You observe a good story every day, George. You're putting your kids through a horrific experience, George. Finite and infinite games. Right now, you're playing a game that will be finite. It may not be today or tomorrow because Georgia and Sarah Catherine and Jason Newland and Pat Sanford all need a break, but it is coming. Homo Deus, dear. Homo Deus. It's fascinating how someone can take a profound insight, like the importance of stories and imagination, and twist it into a dark, nihilistic conclusion, George. It's a reminder of how ideas, even valuable ones, can be co-opted or distorted into something quite destructive. Let's take the word gibbers. It's not a silly story. It wasn't a silly name. It was meant to disparage and diminish someone, her Jewish husband, and her Jewish faith. George. Truth seeker. Come on. You can't even write this. I cannot write this. All of these words come from George Estrada, socially known as Jorge, depending on which crowd he's in. I am a truth seeker, but yet you bag Wendy Adelson. Pursuing knowledge, but are you? Even in uncertainty. George. To not know, yet know one's own ignorance is a truth unto itself. My God, are you going to be so ashamed when this is over with? Lies comfort fools. The drug of choice for the weak. But the coward cannot question. Raise your hand, George, if you need saved. Raise your hand. Lacking freedom spirit. A natural-born slave, content with comfort, pleasure, and praise. The fool may be saved from addiction, but the coward's nature remains unchanged. A parasite to society and culture, the coward shuns truth. George, he flourishes in lies, propagating falsehoods. In the coward's world, right becomes wrong, evil misunderstood, truth is avoided. Truth revokes power and authority. For the coward, a comforting lie is preferable to a harsh truth. George, this is your whole life. This is your life, dude. For the people in the back, George is the blog. Jorge also drinks his dinner judging from his prose. Dude, this is September 17th. Journal entry 14, January 20th. Wow, 7 months before the murder of your chick, trying to watch my language, had her husband murdered. I reflected on taking my son to see a stage adaptation of Fahrenheit 451 at GMU Center for the Arts the previous night. The performance by the English theater company Akia Theater was exceptional. Both my son and I, having read the book, agreed that Ray Bradbury was indeed prophetic in his depiction of a society lost to entertainment and anti-intellectualism. While the story centers on book burning, how about murdering? No. The play highlighted a crucial twist. Montag, despite being able to read, struggles to comprehend the text, pleading with Faber to teach him. The nuance is significant. Isn't it? Isn't it significant, George? I'm sure you're a very nice man. Clearly smart. You've had big jobs. You're an executive, but you're a moron with a penis. The play reinforced my belief that one can burn books without flames. One can burn husbands too. Reading like muscle memory requires consistent practice. Critical thinking skills develop through repetition and exposure to vast amounts of information. And George, I'm here to give it to you. It's this accumulation of knowledge that allows us to make connections and generate new ideas. Someone I think I heard on X today, it's called a vaginal fog. You're in a vaginal fog, George. A process that mirrors the concept of big data, but within our minds. I find it deeply concerning that many choose to read less or not at all. I find it deeply concerning that any man with any bachelor's degree and half a brain would be with this woman and take their kids around her. My fear for my daughter and son, my fear for your daughter and son, is that they might become lost in the cultural trend of consuming 30-second clips of superficial content masquerading as art and literature. I guess art is in the eye of the beholder, as is love, George. Our society's shift towards anti-intellectualism is alarming, and I believe we'll face severe consequences. You know what? You'll face severe consequences, George, when she gets hauled off to Leon County Detention Center without bond, and a 1.5 year wait until her trial starts because of all the holidays. Court takes a recess. Just how it works here. There are no tablets either, George, so you won't be able to call her every time you want like Charlie got. Reflecting on Umberto Eco's definition of intellectual from his Paris Review interview, I consider how true if you have to use intellectualism over and over again, you're not being an intellectual. Just saying. Isn't about repeating information, although you do, but about producing new ideas and approaches. You haven't had one. By this measure, an uneducated farmer who innovates through experience and contemplation could be more of an intellectual than a guy from George Mason University who worked for AWS, who doesn't change his backdrop over like 2 years. You have the same circles, the same graphs, the same vectors. 10 years, 9 months, and I could never imagine how bad it would get. You have no idea how prophetic you are, George. This is the first time I've read it. So whenever someone sends me something, I don't read it or watch it until I do it with you all. And that is fascinating. That is September 17th. 2 months after Dan Markel was murdered in his garage by 2 hired hitmen, hired by Catherine Magbanua, Charlie Adelson, Donna Adelson, and Wendy Jill Adelson. Why AWS is a better choice? Because you sell it, dude. You sell AWS. You no longer work for them. You took your LinkedIn down, but you sell it. And that's your head. Your head's right there, dude. I'm posting this on here, and I'm going to screenshot everything because I know you're going to take it down. So, state agencies. But this is too comical for words. Like, I just love this so much. I can't believe you wrote that. The metaverse, anonymity, and digital lives. You know, if it wasn't for the digital life of the bus and the video of the bus, we would not know that it was a Prius with one mirror that had been damaged and replaced with a black mirror. If it wasn't for people like Mentor Lawyer, who from the beginning, he is the OG, this wouldn't have occurred. If it wasn't for WCTV, WTXL here in Tallahassee, we would know nothing. If it wasn't for the Tallahassee Democrat, we would know nothing. Came across 2 fascinating articles that got me thinking about the future of technology and its impact. The first, from the Financial Times, was titled Meetings in the Metaverse. How about meetings at the Yardbird? Can we talk about that? Can we talk about meeting outside of the Continuum? Can we talk about meeting at the Continuum Beach? Can we talk about that? Can we talk about Charlie taking picture of Yindra, Catherine Magbanua, and your girl on the beach? Who counts how many minutes they sit at the beach? How did Wendy come up with, I was there for 1 hour? It's very specific. You know, the more specific you are, the more likely it is to be a lie because you're just pretending. Talk about the COVID. Oh, headsets. Your girl said AV equipment. Maybe she got that from you. The Oculus. Do you live through the Oculus? Because maybe you need to go look in that closet and see that red dress that hoe bag wore to that bar mitzvah. She wishes she was anonymous. You can move her all over the country. But eventually, and I'll be more specific, you're going to apply for utilities in a name. And those, when you do that, it's going to go to Fast People Search, all of those background companies. And we're going to know where you live. And the feds are going to know where you live. And we're going to make fun of where you live. And we're going to make fun of you, George, because you're bagging a murderer. You are. She's an unindicted co-conspirator. But when you have a conspiracy, George, it's just like doing it. You don't have to pull the trigger. 26-year-old figured that out if you watched earlier, George. Thoughts on the Ukraine? I'm going to pass because your thoughts on the Ukraine when you're living with that woman really mean nothing. If you care about the Ukraine, send your money over, dear. The cost of a stalemate. We're not at a stalemate, are we, George? Not at a stalemate. You know why I know that? Because Jack Campbell will eventually, after everyone's had a break, before Christmas, don't be surprised if your girl isn't indicted. Numbers are not statistics. Neither is this murder. It's not a statistic. It represents lives lost, families shattered, and futures obliterated. You're so prophetic, George. The most haunting part of all of it is the immense sacrifice that the Markells have had to make. Someone posted to me earlier and asked me a question and said, are they giving Wendy a break because of the boys? No. When you sacrifice the victim for the perpetrator, that's not justice. Reflecting on this, it's clear the Korean War is a stark reminder of the brutal consequences of conflict. You know what's a stark reminder of the brutal consequences of murder, George? 2 little boys who had their father erased, including the middle name, who probably weren't even allowed to talk about it. Abba. So all of us, the thousands of YouTubers, have taken it upon ourselves to make sure that Dan Markel's memory is alive. It's a story that none of us will ever get over. Burning the books. Promised an explanation of historical book burning and censorship. You know what censorship is, George? Censorship, George, is when you remove the biological legal name of the father to the sons. That is censorship. That was Donna Adelson. That was your hoe bag with the bad hair because she's got some plot issues. That was censorship, and it was cruel. Censorship is cruel. I'll give you that. I don't believe in it. But you know what's really cruel? Is sending a 4-year-old to school with a name change and not really explaining to him. And you know what else is cruel, George? Donna Adelson saying, well, it's been 2 years. I don't see that he's sad. You know what I bet? I bet anytime those boys even mentioned a man that might look like Dan, they were scolded. Not sure. I'm jumping to conclusions, but that's my guess. Because Donna was pretty sharp in saying he would not remember. The boys will not remember. They're not sad because of Dan. That is censorship. You know what else is censorship? I'm a grandparent. Removing grandparents from children's lives because you don't like. How can you submit to that? How does anyone submit to that? No one's ever been able to explain that to me. Psychologists, no one. How can you be with a woman who would remove the grandparents of the man that was murdered? He didn't off himself. He wasn't an addict or a pedophile or some other disgraceful thing. He was a Harvard-educated attorney. How do you submit to that and let that happen? Oh, because they're her children? No, they were his children. And she offed him. I know, George, that you suffered a great loss too. And I guarantee you, I've seen the photos. You kept your wife's memory alive. May she rest in peace. She seemed like a beautiful woman with a beautiful family. What kind of penis issue do you have that you're just submitting to that woman to not have the grandparents around? And then read this. Censorship. You're talking about Iraq and Yugoslavia. How about talking about Austin, Texas? You want to see a war? Ukraine. How about Austin, Texas? Miami Beach. Bristol. One of the book's controversial point is advocacy for preserving social media. But yet, your wife takes that shit down. You took your shit down. It's not your wife, it's your girlfriend. She's not stupid enough to marry you because she's going to lose Social Security for the boys if you were to adopt them. So I don't think that's happened either. Comments from former Labor Secretary Wright. Man, you got balls. I don't care how big you are. Your balls are tiny. Overall, burning of the books make a strong case for the importance of libraries, but falls short in discussion of the archives. You know what's important in the Jewish family? Archives. You know what else would be important in a Jewish family? A Holocaust ring. That would be really important. Yeah. The book provides a thought-provoking read. This provided a thought-provoking read. It also provides a whole read of hypocrisy. I'm sure you are beloved with Tova and Jane. All the social workers love Jorge. Meanwhile, the Markells are suffering an unimaginative, I cannot imagine, tragedy every day. They relive it. For 11 years, they've relived it. And there's George out partying with Wendy. You're disgusting. The plague. Think you live with it, George. This is just complete. I, again, have never read this. This is unbelievable. You find yourself deeply engrossed, quickly becoming a favorite. His storytelling in The Plague is both compelling and stressful, detailing a 10-month outbreak of the plague in the 40s. You weren't alive in the 40s, but you were alive in 14 when this murder occurred. To me, that's a plague. The narrative feels like the zombie apocalypse. I bet when the Markells wake up every day, it feels like an apocalypse. The residents are trapped in the town, facing the grim reality of a painful death. You're so empathetic to the 1940s. How much empathy do you have for the Markells? Cut off from the outside world and separated from some of their loved ones. You've got to be kidding me. You know who's separated from their loved ones? Ben and Lincoln Markell. The story dives into the motivations about people's actions during a crisis. You couldn't have written this better. Camus doesn't shy away from questioning God, his followers, and the meaning of life. Let's talk about the meaning of life, George. Camus' exploration of human nature under extreme duress is both thought-provoking and unsettling. I know, under extreme duress, we pretend like our boys didn't even have a father, and we change their names, and we move out of the area 8 hours away, and we walk away from the father's parents at a memorial service. I have really good friends that were there, George, if you're questioning me. If you think I'm not telling you the truth, I know a whole slew of Jews that would be happy to chat with you and tell you what happened there. But hey, you live heartbreak, George. George, you know what heartbreak is? You do, because you lost a spouse. But you probably loved your spouse. I guarantee, it sounds like you did. Social media. George, you've got to be kidding me. In the book Consolation, there is no consolation for the Markells. The poet David White defines heartbreak as unpreventable, the natural outcome of caring for people and things over which we have no control. George, you are the prophet of our time. He says that heartbreak begins when we are asked to let go but cannot. Heartbreak is how we mature. Is it though, George? You think it cannot be prevented? You think a murder, a hired hitman, can't be prevented? Donna couldn't decide whether to testify. She had 9 months to end this bullshit and didn't do it. He recommends we look for and befriend it because it's unavoidable. Is it unavoidable, George? Is it? There is no alternative path? You think there wasn't one? White describes the word as truthful and empowering. It moves the word from a position of weakness and frailty to one of somberness, respect, and acceptance. I find this disgusting. Knowing you've reached such a point means that what is asked you to let go is truly meaningful, George, and your love is real because only such conditions would result in heartbreak. You think those boys felt differently about it? Let me introduce you to my father's alibi. She remembers her mother, 5 years old, when she was murdered. I also like that it can take so many forms. Children, a moral decadence. Here we go. You're living in the past, George. We need you to bring you today and realize the woman you're living with is responsible for the murder of Dan Markel. A recent post on X did the depravity of hedonism in the 20s. You want to know hedonistic? Look to your left. Berlin paved the way for the rise of the Nazi movement. You've got to be kidding me. With the society indulges excessively in hedonism, sexual depravity, and exploitation. Get out of the vaginal fog, George. Berlin in the 20s. How about Tallahassee in the 14s? While consenting adults have the right to engage in sexual practices of their choice, we must consider the potential psychological, emotional, and societal consequence. Let's talk about murder. Can we talk about that, George? That's hedonistic. That's Satan. That's evil. Self-control. Really, George? And adherence to moral principles are paramount. George is now preaching to us about the morality of our society. Meanwhile, he's bagging that hoe. June 4th, a month and 10 days before Dan Markel is murdered in his garage. Reflecting on technology advancements in the last 51 years, you keep going to the past, dude. You need to come up to the day, and this is all over the place. I have 1,000 people. I had 1,500 earlier watching this. Trust in science. You know what science is, George? Science is taking 2 bullets to the head. That is science. You weren't in the courtroom that day that we all got to see it, or the last trial where we all got to see it, but that is science. It's propulsion. It's a little tiny piece of metal that propulses into your brain and obliterates it. Where'd the gun come from, George? They got it on the street, so we were told. I don't even think I believe that. The illusion of a two-party system, now the politics. All the people involved were likely Democrats, George. So I don't think politics had anything to do with it. I really don't. I think what had to do with it was hate. Hate and being evil, George. Greed, too. And you have submitted yourself to it. And so, I ask my priest all the time about sin, George. I'm a Catholic. And I ask him about it. And if you don't know something's a sin, right, then it's not a mortal sin. It's not something that would damn your soul. Because I've asked this question. And now you know. You cannot watch Donna's trial, which I'm sure you did, because you wanted to see your gal, and not know that she had to be involved. Everyone knows she's involved. Everybody. Yesterday, May 30th, marked a historic and troubling day. Donald Trump was found guilty. You've got to be kidding me. You're going to talk about a felony that was now purged, right? That felony is gone. But you are worried about that. Again, look to your own bed, George. You've got great taste in furniture. I'll give you that. But look to your own bed. You are living with a woman responsible for the death of another human being. Here's a copy of it if anybody wants to read it without me going on and on about it. I'm going to PDF it. And keep it forever, George. Not that you're going to watch this, but. And then I'll send it out. So you can take it down like other people take down their blogs. All you want. George. Anyway, back to the chat. This is George. George is living with a hoe bag. I mean, let's just face it. What's it say? I have to go back up to the chat a while. You're a talented talk show, not a documentary. Oh, you're the best. It's not a documentary. It's a talk show. People talk. Hi, Marion. How are you? Hi, Patty. I've been listening to you for a long time, but never commented. I think you're terrific. Thank you. Thank you. We should just use a kite instead of saying hi. That was funny. Aw, hi, Denise Douglas. Hope you're doing well. Notice all the young media savvy jurors run right to social media. It's the way. 100 hours of training. That's all she had. That's what she said. Kelsey Guay, G-U-A-Y. I'll never forget it. Sounds better than 2.5 weeks. John. You always wanted to be a juror, Bree. Got called once, but never interviewed. Everyone before me was interviewed and picked. Aw, you weren't even a bridesmaid. Sorry, Bree. A new server at Red Lobster or Outback gets 100 hours of training. Thank you, Amy Lou. You're a retired nurse. Jorge is trying to be a human. Well, Hi, Patty. There's Will. Will's back. Will's high as a kite. So they're not lies, they're stories, says Eric. Oh, Neil Gaiman is an English writer. So if you just started with us, I was reading Jorge Estrada's, a.k.a. George Estrada, a.k.a. Wendy's side piece. Isn't that what Lewis called Katie? Jorge is Wendy's side piece, and he has a blog. And our friend Ryan found it. Thank you, Ryan, for that. Jorge isn't that smart, no. You always wanted to be a juror, but I can't, as I was a child advocate for the UK courts, and you're barred forever? How does she bring up what happened to her ex-husband and her family being part of the demise when she would meet someone? I don't know. Gibbers was an Hugh Hefner. Gibbers was an insult name. Thank you, Judith. My quirkiness. Patty, let's take the word a 41-year-old man in his grave and his children haven't ever been there. Nope. Yep. George has self-esteem issues. Maybe George is helping to write Wendy's next book. When anyone calls out Jorge, does Wendy think they're talking to her? Jorge. Is Wendy? No, he didn't know Wendy then. These are 2014. Now it's mine forever. George wrote that. His ode to fibbers. I'm here in Austin. People who have been following this case are buzzing. TikTok Wendy. Thanks, Eljo. First, one needs to be a poet, Wesley. One then doesn't. He references the Harvard graduate at the end. Yeah. Does he? Oh, yeah. Harvard Business Review. The power of stories. If you want to lead. Oh, my God. Look at that. Reflecting on Umberto Eco's definition of intellectual from his Paris Review interview, I consider how true intellectualism isn't about repeating information, but about producing new ideas and approaches. By this measure, an uneducated farmer, I read this, but I didn't catch it the way you did, Lori, who innovates through experience and contemplation could be more of an intellectual than a Harvard graduate who merely echoes trendy dogma and ideological talking points. Lori, you are amazing. Saving that. Wow. No, we didn't know the princess yet. Jorge is going to be really full after eating all the words. Thank you, little Biddle. Moron with a penis is redundant. Is book burning like and censored? Yeah, censorship. Never allowing your son to visit their father's grave in Toronto. How does he even take Wendy out in public? I would be mortified. Intelligence does not equate with common sense. The vaginal fog. I didn't make that up. Someone else made it up. That is vaginal fog. And sorry to say, Jeff Lacoste was in it. That is perfect. I think it was a loophole lawyer said that. I've read better things on the back of a milk carton. George is a blocky shape of the V. We need the magical hoo-ha song. Oh, yeah. I woke up giddy with anticipation every morning since Donna's conviction that today will be the day that we see the body cam footage of Princess Wendy in cuffs. The fog has lifted. The earth has shifted. Will, are you still high? Well, since no arrest, could they give us some jail calls? Oh, September 17th is your mom's birthday. Oh, happy birthday for your mom. The state attorney wants everyone to rest up and have a break. He's worried about them getting sick. Yeah, they're not married. He can be subpoenaed. Jeffrey Lacoste is a heroic, stubborn doormat. God. Did she meet him on a dating site? He did Amazon. I don't know this to be true. I'm just inferring. But he worked with Amazon Web Services and the non-for-profits, the nonprofits. So I believe that's how they met. I'm just assuming, though. They probably knew the same people. Wendy's vaginal fog must be powerful. Jeff Lacoste said early on that he would still want her. Go way back in his early... Oh, I remember it, Hugh. He admitted it on this... Ugh. Warning doesn't use a CC or a debit card in a trial. They have no customer service to stop them from charging your card. Lies comfort fools, and he should know because he's a hypocrite. Thanks, kisses. Thank you. Because I was making fun of George. Thanks, kisses. That beach photo is the bomb. Patty is roasting George. Wendy's world equals a coward's world. God, there's some good stuff in here. You think he wasn't at the courthouse that I could see. He may have been in Tallahassee. Who is that woman? That was me. He probably thinks she looks hot in that red dress with her fat, flat ass. There's some folk continuing to be rude. I was kind of surprised Georgia said she did no favors for the boys. I disagree. She did a huge favor by taking that red rumor away. Patty has Jorge on a rotisserie. You're welcome, Jill. Bagging a murderer. It's true. That's what he's doing. Mercy to the murderer is cruelty to the victim. Tell that to that Ukrainian girl in North Carolina who was sliced from here to here and had been let out of jail 14 times. Tell that to Missy Mogel's dad who killed her. Missy Mogel was 5 years old. Here in Tallahassee, Judge Tiffany Baker let him out pending his final sentencing. He was convicted on sex offenses. No better example of censorship. Donna is the hoe bag with the bag. Roasty toasty. But the boys call George dad, and he is a father figure. We don't know that. How do we know they call him dad? How do you know? No, it's not better. It's not better. I disagree. I love you, Debbie, but I disagree completely. Any man that would submit to this nonsense is not a good father figure. Sorry. Any man that would put up with a murderer in his bed is not a good father figure. Really? No, I can't. Sorry, we're just going to have to disagree. I don't know who is the most desperate, Jorge or George for being with Wendy, or Wendy being with Jorge. No child should be brought up by a murderer. Jeffrey did look similar to Dan. George is going to be ashes. Feral cats are better mamas than Wendy. Oh yeah, I have no time for it. You either are a moral human being or you're not. There's no gray area here. He's not doing the boys a favor by staying with her. He's doing it because of his phallic feelings towards her. That's it. She's vapid. And her testimony proves it. He's lived with her for a year. He knows she's a lazy slob who didn't want to work. Vapid. She's vapid. She pretends she doesn't know what the law is, all for her own self-preservation. Thank you for the Spotify link. I couldn't have listened to the interview. You're welcome. Thanks, Melissa. Wendy used the excuse the Markells were trying to put the kids in foster care. And here we are. Wendy is obviously a dominating witch who casts spells. It's not her hoo-ha. Thank you, Crime and Coffee. Oh, come on, forensic. She's like, Wesley, I wouldn't put it past Donna to pump her breasts to make. Oh, come on. George was deeply engrossed in the plague. How diagnostic of him. I got to scroll down. I got to get going. You get rude comments too when I speak of Wendy and family saying we obsessed. I don't care. I really don't care. She needs to go away. And I mean in a metal cage. I never brought one man around my son who was 4 when our marriage ended until he was 13. Jorge. Imagine an evening of George and Wendy talking for 6 hours straight, not making a single point. Oh, he's made points, just not what he thought he was making. He proves that 3 great forces rule: world stupidity, fear, and greed. Jorge and Hua. Does anyone know if Wendy says who will be in charge of the boys? We have no idea. Like I've said, like I'm not on that email list. Yes, I have a potty mouth. Yep, I do. Do we have a link to this nonsense? I posted it and here it is again. But I did make a PDF of it. In kindergarten, we all very clearly know and remember our parents. Thanks, Sailing. I'll try to have a calmer day tomorrow. One can't always control who comes into one's life, but one can control which window one... which window we throw them out. I mean, like, come on. How do you have everyone in your family arrested? You're the only one with the schedule. How? The phone call with the schedule, you called and verified he'd be out of town. That's the one that matters. He was out of town or he was going out of town. Oh my God. Jorge makes your hair hurt. His wife, who passed away, would be mortified. I have no idea how she would feel, but I can't even imagine. I bet Jorge sees this in Scrubs. That's why I took a PDF of it. This right here, I read it, but I didn't read it. This is everything. I mean, is this disparaging? When was this written? September 17th. Are you disparaging Dan Markel here, Jorge? I mean, why would that come out? Jorge, Harvard's only noted 3 times in here. Who wrote this article? It's not morality if you have none. I mean, maybe you just don't have any, George. Maybe you just got lucky with 2 beautiful kids. But I'm really concerned. And I know you took your LinkedIn down because you don't want crazy people to contact your job. But maybe in this society of cancellation, you think you caught the home run baseball, but you didn't. Her hair was a wreck. Wendy and George, says Eric, are the co-authors of This Is Their Story, co-perpetrators of human trafficking. Wendy can't be alone. She can't find her way out of a paper bag. Why is Wendy not as smart as Jorge? Because she doesn't have 2 testicles holding up her brain. Dan was shot shot twice in the head at point blank range. He was a baby and he had an entire promising life to live. Who the F does that and then moves on without batting an eyelash? 8? I think the SAO is taking its time, letting the team take a breather. They got Donna so fast because of her one-way ticket. Let Wendy's paranoia do the work. Wendy has no taste in anything. Greer's Garden, how are you? One of the best days of your life, Mo Freedom. Patty mentioned his Pinterest. I did. I'll share with that tomorrow. He's no Henry Kissinger. It's just a man with his thoughts. A man with his thoughts. Sounds kind of like you're throwing some shade there, dear. Throwing some shade on the Harvard graduates. Do you remember Jeffrey Lacoste thinking that in the beginning that he didn't like Dan Markel because of what she said about Dan Markel? What do you think Wendy has said about Dan Markel to this guy and to every other guy she was bagging? That woman has been around. Like, I hope you get a regular checkup. She has the audacity to call somebody an STD. The audacity. You really need to make sure you don't have the warts or something, dude. This just in. Wendy forces Jorge to change his name to Jorge Adelson. A man with a Giacomo. Man, is that what you look like, Giacomo? Wendy is herpes. She's like the town bike. Everyone gets a ride. I remember Jeff saying he thought otherwise when he got together with Botox Eyebrows Girl. Dude, it was so funny listening to Joel this morning on STS. He had Dr. G on. It was so funny. And Joel asked about Wendy Adelson's eyebrows. And Dr. G is like, well, I haven't really taken that into account. Like, I just thought it was so funny. Oh, that was funny. Right, Sonny? He's had 11 years. He really has had 11 years to take my Wendy in it. Ew, get off of me. What's the 10 years, 9 months at the end of that? It starts at the beginning, January 2024, January 2014. He's talking about intellectualism as if you don't even know. It's just so stupid. Wendy was front and center in that grad picture. It wasn't about her, but she made it about her. With those glasses. Why would you wear bright blue sunglasses in that man's graduation photo? Joel was this was funny too. Joel was asking about himself too, which was hilarious. Dr. G said he's normal for a person with anxiety. Your iPad delays by 5 seconds. Oh, that's good to know, Debbie. I didn't know that. Patty's Comedy Hour. I wish. I mean, I could trash anybody, really. A house, well, his Pinterest isn't bad. Isn't she, though? You've only been wrapped up in this case, Jack. I was watching you this morning, too. Oh, and thank you. I don't want to mess up the name of her show. I just call her Gossip. What's the name of the show on YouTube? Gossip. Is it Gossip? Gossip Rumor. I was going to say Gossip Lies and Innuendo. For the shout out today. That was really nice of you. It was very nice. It's annoying to be on delay. It is. My phone next to my iPad definitely is 5-second delay. I have a mosquito in here. It's got to die. Maybe Judge thought he would gain something from being with Wendy. Yeah, I don't think so. There's a reason he took his LinkedIn down. If he thought that, it's gone. I am going to go because I have to go be with my husband. So I thank you all very much for tuning in and watching me rant. Once again, just like the old days. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.